Hello, everybody, and welcome to the weekly Oracle Wisdom. My name is Natalie Sadie. For those of you who are joining me for the very first time, we are going to have a look at what the Oracle cards want us to know about the energies for the week ahead. I hope that everybody had a wonderful weekend and had a good time celebrating Father's Day, whether you were celebrating your own father, your husband, or somebody like a father to you, or maybe you just had a wonderful weekend and you weren't celebrating anyone. um, we are going to get right into this. I'm just wondering, is there anything I need to share with you all? No, we're halfway through the month. Make sure if you haven't already, go and have a look at the monthly oracle reading that I did for June. It was incredible. So that is there on my YouTube channel. And we also had Gemini Brett on Gemini Rising. We were talking about astrocartography. It was so interesting. And he was running mine and Anne's chart together. And I didn't know how that all worked. And so he actually went through it. He demonstrated it all. It was really, really interesting. So make sure you go and check that out. And other than that, let's just get into it and see what the week ahead has in store for us. Okay, so the first card that jumped out, a powerful change will transform your life. So I don't know whether you've been waiting for change, wanting change, but it's coming. For me, I actually enjoy it. I like the transition of I get bored if I get stuck in the same routine over and over and over again. And so whenever there's change, to me, it's exciting because it means things are moving forward and things are shifting, and life is always going to be exciting and different. The next card that jumped out was learn when to say no, avoid clutter, slow down, and quiet your mind. So, look, for some people, this in itself is going to be the change. We have a right when people come to us and ask us for things to say no if it doesn't work for us. And people can get upset with you because it doesn't suit what's going on for them, but your life doesn't revolve around these other people. Clutter in terms of your physical space. They always say clean house, clean mind sort of thing. So when you are in a space that is neat and tidy, it means that you're able to move around a whole lot better, but it's a reflection of what's going on in your mind. So if your mind is cluttered and there's thoughts and there's all these different things going on, it's hard to concentrate and get the things that you need to done. So this is why we want to avoid clutter. Slow down. We are all racing through life. And I mean, it makes sense. We're living in a time where it feels that time is passing faster and faster and faster and faster. And we need to sometimes stop and take a breath and understand that it's okay to be still and quiet your mind. One of the hardest things to do, especially if you're someone like me who is a overthinker, it's it's a challenge, but you have to learn how to sort of switch off. For me, it's meditation. And if there's one particular person that's in my thoughts at any given time, that's when I sit down and do a cord cutting meditation so that I can really rid myself of all those connections and actually sit quietly. And that's a lifesaver. For you, the way you go about things, it may be different, but whatever your process is, it's time for self-care. I want to say it's time to be selfish this week. And people always put selfish with being completely self-absorbed and that selfish is a bad thing. It's not. Selfish can be a wonderful thing. If you're doing things that are detrimental to other people, that's when selfishness is bad. When you are being selfish in regard to taking care of you, that's not a bad thing. There will be people that will fight you on it because it doesn't suit them. But those are the moments where you have to stand your ground, not feel guilty, and just keep moving forward and do what's right for you. You're allowed to do that. So we've had a few cards jump out. You are going to make mistakes and it's okay. Sometimes you learn by messing up. We we are all our own worst critics. We never like to mess up, but it's going to happen. And for a lot of us, that's how we learn. I mean, you think about the mistakes you made when you were young and how they influence you when you get older. I think about past relationships and where I fell for things that I never should have fallen for. But they were lessons that I had to learn, and let me tell you, I learned them. And now if I see those same red flags coming up in someone, I don't think twice. I'm like, thank you so much. This isn't going to work for me. And I can tell them why, and then I can move on. So it's the same with every other sort of experience, whether it be with friendships, whether it be with our safety or with jobs and what's suitable for us. If you make a mistake, do not be too hard on yourself. Do not be too hard on yourself because it doesn't serve a purpose. What you have to do is acknowledge the lesson and then be able to move on and just go, right, I will never do that again. There was a moment in time where somebody had hurt me, but I had made the decision to step back into a place where they could hurt me. And I remember I was so broken when all of this went on. And I called my sister and I was waiting for her to say to me, I told you so. And she never did. And we spent hours on the phone. And it was after I'd sort of healed and gotten past everything. And I said to her, I said, why did you never yell at me? Why wasn't there the I told you so or anything like that? And she said, you were beating yourself up so badly at that point. I didn't need to. And I knew you'd learned the lesson. So understand that sometimes people can be thoughtless when they're sort of pointing out these mistakes, and especially when they're very difficult for you. But you need to give yourself grace as much as other people need to give yourself grace. And just know that with every lesson that you learn, there is growth. Next card out, you will be blessed with more than you could ever imagine. See, this is what's on the other side of it. We You put down boundaries and sort of say to people, listen, I can't help you. I can't do this. This is what I need to do for me. They can be annoyed. The people that love you will not go anywhere. They'll just be frustrated because they're not getting what they want from you. Um, and you work on doing what's right for you and nurturing you. As you're going through this process, especially if you're someone who has always struggled with saying no to people, you may make mistakes just in that area, or maybe as you're stepping into this new chapter, because it's a whole new sort of realm that you're existing in, you make mistakes. But the reality is everything that's coming through this process is going to be something that's amazing. So just, like I said, be patient with yourself and give yourself grace. Forgiveness sets you free. It keeps you from hanging on to what was never meant to be. We all, I shouldn't say we all, so many people think that to forgive someone is giving them, a way out. And it means that the person who's wronged you, hurt you, left you, whatever it may be, um, that's letting them off scot-free. And it's not about that at all. Forgiveness is absolutely about giving yourself freedom, freeing yourself from carrying the weight of the anger and the hurt and the sadness and everything else that is attached to that person, whatever the circumstance. And it frees you in a way that it allows you to move forward and grow and just create a life that otherwise you may not be able to. So if there is something that feels like it's dragging you back or dragging you down, that's what you need to work on letting go. And maybe that's part of the quiet your mind. Whenever we're angry at somebody or we're carrying that hurt and we're not able to let go of it, that can play in our mind over and over and over again. We replay these things. And again, when you free yourself of all of that, It changes everything. And it is absolutely about freeing you. Remember, many of the clouds casting shadows aren't real. I feel like with this reading, a lot of it is about our mind and how we approach this world. There's clearly change coming, and we've had a lot of astrological events going on. We've still got them going on. We've got Mars squares and all sorts of things going on in the sky. And I feel like there is a real world shift that is happening. And I think it's good in terms of growth and where we're moving to. But I think a lot about this reading is how our minds rule our life, right? So remember many of the oh my goodness. Remember many of the clouds casting shadows aren't real. So again, these are things that we create in our mind. We think about a conversation we need to have with somebody, and then we automatically go into having an argument with them and we have the back and forth. One of my exes, I remember one time he hadn't told me something and I was upset with him and I was like, why on earth? And he said, well, because I knew what you would say. And then he told me the argument that we had apparently had that we never had. And he said, but I knew that was how it would play out. And I said, you're so wrong. I don't care. I don't care about this thing that you want to do. I don't even remember what it was. And he looked at me and went, huh. And I said, so here's the thing, even if we're going to have an argument, you need to talk to me and tell me these things, because it'll be a smaller argument, if there is one, than the one that you've created in your head. And I can't compete with the argument that you've had in your head. You know, we think about upcoming events and we sit there with anxiety about all the ways that it could go wrong rather than thinking about all the ways that it could go right. But we're casting these shadows over these experiences when we haven't even gotten there, and there isn't any data or any proof as to why it would go badly. But we are always trying to protect ourselves, and a way to protect ourselves is to stop us from ever going into a situation where we're going to get hurt. But the reality is, if we focus on living in the now and focus on what's happening in the present, and you know, if it's involving other people, what are their behaviors versus the things that they're saying to us? What is, you know, I'm going for this job interview, and instead of saying, oh my gosh, it's all going to go wrong and I'm never going to get the job and this is all bad and all of that, I'm qualified for it and it hasn't happened yet and I'll deal with it when I get there. And what's the worst that happens if you don't get that job? You apply for another job and you end up exactly where you're meant to be. So we have to get out of our heads. We have to stop creating these situations, these arguments, these scenarios that aren't serving us. And look, some of them, yeah, some things don't go well. Some things cause us pain. Some things upset us. But we can navigate all of those as they come up, when they come up, if they come up. So just make sure you're not in your head and creating a lot of this drama and angst, anger, frustration, sadness, all of that you might be carrying at the moment, because I think it's completely unnecessary. All right, I'm only going to pull one more of these, and this is the Future Higher Self Oracle by Mahrukh. I often use these for the monthly readings, but I opened the cupboard and they jumped out at me. And apparently the cards have been jumping out since I started shuffling, so they had something to say. Okay, so a perfect card to finish this part of the reading off with: don't let people suck the air out of your spirit. So to me, this goes back to the transformation and the fact that where you're going is all good. You will be blessed with more than you could ever imagine. So all of this is good. You can't let other people dictate your life to you. You can't let other people dictate how it is you have to behave and what it is you have to do to move through this world. So as you're finding this peace, which I think is a huge, huge focus of this week, Don't let anybody else come in and tell you that what you're doing is weird or wrong, or that you should be doing something different, or maybe just finding that in a piece, they're thinking that you need to be doing it differently. Um, Most people don't enjoy unsolicited advice, but that is something that most people don't understand. Um, and we as friends should be able to hear what people are saying and trust that if people want advice, they will ask us for it. So I tell you that in case you're the person trying to tell someone they're doing something wrong or they're going about their journey wrong. The way I meditate, I give people information and tips as to how I do it. But I understand there's a million different ways people can meditate and do cord cutting ceremonies and all this sort of stuff. So you just have to find what works for you, and do not let anybody tell you that what you're doing or how you're going about it is wrong, providing you're not hurting anyone. Um, so this week, just make sure you're focused on you and your growth and releasing everything that doesn't serve you, especially if you're hanging on to anger or grief over a situation. Forgive them. They're on their own journey. They're fighting battles that you legitimately don't know anything about. And it's not an excuse for poor treatment or poor behavior, but maybe you just don't have all the information. And even if you do, why are you carrying that burden? That's their burden to carry. They're the one that caused you pain. They're the one that created this situation. So this is where you need to release all of that, because you are releasing it for you and not them. Okay, so next we have the Healing Waters Oracle, which was interesting because I pulled it and I went, I don't know why I'm pulling these cards, but I feel like there needs to be a bit of a healing going on this week. So the first one out is the Mist. Trust your inner compass, be led from within. So you already know where you're going. You know, if you're in a really, really thick fog, you can't see 5 feet in front of you, and you have to trust the road that you're on or the path that you're on. And if you were out in the wilderness, you'd be using a compass to guide you to where you're going, because you can't actually see it. You already know what it is you need to do, what you need to let go of, and maybe it's taking a minute for you to actually get to that space where you can do it. And sometimes, especially with the forgiveness, it's a process. You think you're there and then something comes up and you're like, all right, I wasn't really there yet. Um, but you know what it is you need to do. So trust that and allow that to be your guide through this week. Oh, okay, give me a sec. Beneath the surface, what's really driving you? True motives, breaking free. So it is about freeing yourself up this week. It's exactly what I've talked about. So you're about to come through the surface, you're sitting just below. Um, and the question, what's really driving you? What is driving you, or where is it that you really want to be? And these are very honest conversations you need to have with yourself. Okay. The pink dolphin, celebration, fun, unbridled joy, open heart. You know, everything that's on the other side of this inner work this week is all good things. It's all for your growth. It's all for your betterment. It's all for moving forward and growth and expansion within your own life. I felt like I was meant to put the cards down. I thought I'll just shuffle and we'll see if I'm meant to have one more. And this one came flying out. So the rainbow, sweet relief, new beginnings, a new way forward. So that's just confirmation. I mean, we all see the symbol of a rainbow as being lucky. We all know the story that there's meant to be a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. But confirmation, sweet relief, new beginning. So the relief to me is coming from the forgiveness, coming from saying no and standing up for what it is you need and what serves you. And then the new beginnings, the very first card out, a powerful change will transform your life. So all of this work that you're doing is leading to growth and new and better things for you. That is, of course, if you choose to step into that and really sort of do the work and understand what changes need to be made within your own life. And look, some of these changes could be really small. Could be a small thing in terms of your daily routine, how you approach things. It could be just having certain boundaries and saying, okay, I'm not going to do this thing anymore because I need to focus on this, this, and this. They don't need to be massive changes, but these little things can make a huge difference. Maybe it's just that life's gotten on top of you and things are a bit messy and cluttered. And so you just need to clear that out. And that kind of frees your mind. It makes you feel like you're able to breathe again to be able to step forward. So just whatever it may be. And we're going to finish with the Know Your Shadow Self deck. We haven't used these in a while, and I just felt like it's a week for it. So the first one out is Guarded Shadow. The shadow side of this is closed off and don't trust anyone, shut down, guarded heart, and trust issues. The flip side of that, your efforts to protect yourself is what's blocking you from the very thing that you want most. Dissolve your barriers. So if you are in a place of being guarded and you are in a place where you're not letting people in, and look, maybe one of the shifts you have to make is allowing people in, just sharing some information so that they can understand and be a little more thoughtful in terms of how they approach you and what you need, and just having that deeper understanding of you. But if you are completely blocked and you are stopping anyone from getting close to you, you're never going to get what you actually need from these people. Okay, so next one is inhibited shadow. The shadow side of this is suppressing desires, feelings, and impulses, repressed, constrained, hindering. The lighter side is you have become comfortable staying stuck and miserable. Recognize that it's up to you to do the hard work to succeed. So again, we often think, I'm this way because this person did this. I'm this way because this person said this, or they looked at me this way, or they won't do this. We're responsible for our own path, and it's up to you to have that realization and to move forward and to do the work, because it's very easy to be stuck and stay the victim of somebody else. It's very easy to do that. Poor me. Sorry, there's some weird noise in my house. Poor me, poor me. If it wasn't for this person, if it wasn't for that person, I would be so much better. So often, that person is completely irrelevant to the person who's complaining about them anymore. Not always, but often. But they're there because they choose to be there. So it's now time for you to really take stock of why your life is where it is and to move forward. All right. And the final card, Gossiper Shadow. Spreads rumors and loves drama, snitch, badmouth, can't keep secrets. Try not to wear your heart on your sleeve and be more selective in choosing friends. Not everyone has good intentions. So to me, this kind of comes back to, are you a victim or are you in control of your life? We can all choose friends badly. I have done it, and I've had people warn me and I haven't listened, and it's worked really well for me in some instances and terribly for me in others. The one thing is, I never blame anybody else because it was my choice and I chose to allow somebody into my life. But it's also my choice if I allow them to stay or if I continue to share information with them. So just know that if there's someone and you know that they have a big mouth and they like to talk a lot, this is where this may be one of the boundaries you need to make. This may be one of the, and it doesn't mean you have to end a friendship. It just means you don't give them the information that they can go and tell the whole world about. Um, I feel like it's a good week. I feel like everything is moving forward in a really positive way, but it's one of those weeks where we're being called to go within and take stock of where we are, what changes we want made, and how we can do that. And we are in complete control of our life. So I hope this helps. I hope this resonates with some of you, if not all of you. Make sure you go back and watch the Gemini Brett episode of Gemini Rising. It was a very Gemini show. We had all sorts of things going on that day. That is on the Natalie Sadie page. I will put that in the description below. And of course, we're halfway through the month. Go check out the June monthly Oracle reading. And I will see